This is the final part, part 4, of my lecture on Lucretius. So let's look back now and try to figure out what Lucretius would tell me whenever I look upward, pleading that everything will be okay this semester. And we can also figure out what he might tell me when the uncertainty about the way that the future will unfold is causing me to feel anxiety and fear. He'd tell me first that any pleading or bargaining with non existent supernatural entities may well bring on more anxiety because it might cause me to worry about whether or not I've figured out the correct ritual or sacrifice that I'm supposed to perform. And I might also worry about what would happen if I don't practice the ritual in just the right way. Lucretius would then tell us that in order to be better prepared for the way that the future will unfold, we ought to follow scientific and philosophical reasoning rather than superstition. He'd suggest that rather than pleading with supernatural beings, we should instead gather as much reliable information that is based on evidence from observation and apply reason to it. With that information, we might begin to develop some reasonable predictions about the way that the future will unfold and begin to figure out how best to deal with those circumstances. Although some of our predictions might suggest that there are some bad things lying ahead, at least we'll be worrying about real possibilities rather than increasing our stress level by worrying about supernatural impossibilities. Now, I can imagine that some of us might worry that Lucretius is encouraging a certain division among us. There are those who believe that there is an afterlife, that there is an immortal, non physical soul that survives the death of the body, and that there are supernatural beings who created the universe. And then there are those like Lucretius who do not believe in any afterlife, or in an immortal, non physical soul, or in any supernatural beings. Is Lucretius encouraging a certain division between an in group and an out group, between believers and non believers, theists and atheists? It's not so clear to me that Lucretius is encouraging such a division, in part because Lucretius understands that there are many who are comforted and empowered by the belief in supernatural, mystical, and spiritual, and he doesn't seem to be arguing that whoever believes is in the wrong group. Instead, Lucretius is merely concerned that such belief might be the source of more anxiety, fear, and dread. So one could make the case that Lucretius is not sowing a division between believers and unbelievers, but is actually helping us to see that no matter what religious beliefs we hold or don't hold, we all belong to one and the same group. We're all human. And as such, we're all dealing with the human condition that results from a unique conscious awareness of the fact that each of us will someday die while having no knowledge of what will happen when we do so. The human condition also involves the conscious awareness of ourselves and the understanding that psychological and physical pain sucks, not only for ourselves, but for others as well. And that leads to concern about how we ought to act and treat others in different situations. And it's also the human condition to be worried about whether our lives have any meaning. In this way, Lucretius is appealing to all humans, helping us to see that we can come to discover answers to some difficult questions about how we ought to treat others and how to live a meaningful life by focusing on some of the basic objective facts about what it is to be a human being. Interpreting Lucretius as appealing to all humans as humans is one reason why some claim that Lucretius anticipates and influences contemporary humanism. That is, the theory that ethics, morality, and a meaningful life can be developed from some basic objective facts about what it is to be a human being, rather than by appeal to religious or supernatural explanations. Yet, one might raise a certain set of objections against Lucretius's rejection of superstition and religion. In particular, how can an atheist answer some of the most pressing problems concerning the human condition? Questions like, if there are no gods watching over us and no afterlife to punish those who do wrong, why would anyone act morally? How can there even be morality without divine commandments? Also, if no god or gods put us here on earth with some purpose, then what's the point of living? Once again, Lucretius would appeal to a form of humanism to answer these questions. So, in the humanist vein, Lucretius would explain that because all humans have a natural tendency to avoid pain and to seek pleasure, each of us recognizes that the pain and pleasure we feel must be pretty much the same as that felt by others. And we can thus feel empathy. As Michelle Obama put it in her speech to the DNC, we can put ourselves in someone else's shoes. And when we do put ourselves in someone else's shoes, we'll treat them as we would want to be treated. We'll also recognize that as social beings, we flourish best in a group, and that a group flourishes only when each of its members is flourishing. In other words, humanism shows us that we can have morality without any gods, for we can get to that golden rule by appealing to the very nature of what it is to be a human being without the need for any supernatural beings. Well, what about the meaning of life? As for the point of living in a world in which we have no preordained purpose, Lucretius again appeals to humanism to ease our anxiety. He first explains that even if some supernatural beings put each of us on earth with some preordained purpose, we could never know with certainty what that purpose is, and that uncertainty about our purpose will then lead to further anxiety. But, Lucretius argues, there are some things that we can know. In particular, we know that we're here, and we know that we're living. And so Lucretius prescribes the following. First, study philosophy. It's the cure for any fear and anxiety that might result from uncertainty. And then, relish the life that you have. Gather all your blessings in a non-leaky pot and let them please you, rather than letting them drain away or perish. And, like a banquet guest, drink life to the lees. Thank you.